Culture is our values, traditions, traits, and beliefs that form the basis for how we view and interact with the world, and is traditionally identified as a national phenomenon. Today, the cultures of different nations, and in turn, different cultures, are more frequently in contact, which causes cultures to interconnect and new cultures to emerge in what Diana Crane identifies as cultural hybridization. This cultural hybridization has been heavily aided by the creation of what Castells refers to as the network society, which is the interconnection of people through the internet and electronic devices. The creation of the network society decentralizes communication, both geographically, as societies no longer need to be linked to a certain geographical area, and hierarchically, as anybody within a network society has access to such communication. Castells calls these new developments timeless time and space of flows because the ability to contact anyone, anywhere, and be in multiple places at once devalues the importance of societies by locality and time. So, how does this relate to me as a product and an agent of cultural globalization? I was born in Australia. My parents were also born in Australia and grew up in Australia. In fact, the only person within my family that wasn't born in Australia was my grandfather, who moved from England to Australia at a very young age. So, how do I, a person with monocultural heritage, become a product and an agent of cultural globalization? Through experiences and exposure enabled by the network society and cultural interconnection. For this video, I'll focus on two interests of mine to represent how I am both a product and an agent of cultural globalization. These interests are soccer and media. I will also use experiences from my 6-month trip through Canada and the United States of America to further reinforce my role within cultural globalization. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world, which makes it an excellent example of cultural globalization, with almost every nation having a professional national team. Soccer is something that I both play and watch, actively supporting teams in England, Spain, and Italy, as well as regularly going to Western Sydney Wanderers Hyundai A-League games. Soccer represents how I am a product of cultural globalization through the supporter gear I purchase from European clubs, interviews and analysis videos I watch, the chants I sing at Wanderers games such as Matador RBB, a chant inspired by Argentinian side Boca Juniors, and by the sheer fact that I play a sport that originated in the United Kingdom. Furthermore, soccer creates commonality with other fans of the sport around the world, and can become a gateway to further exposure to foreign ideas, products, and views. For example, in the United States, I went to a bar to watch an English Premier League game. During the game, I began to have discussions with two Spanish gentlemen about the happenings of the game. This led to further conversations about not only the differences in our views on football and how it should be played, but also gave me exposure to aspects of Spanish culture. The interaction between the two Spanish gentlemen also demonstrates how soccer has made me an agent of cultural globalization, because the conversation was an interchange of cultural views, as I was also projecting my own cultural views, values, traditions, and traits onto them. Playing soccer also makes me an agent of cultural globalization because it introduces or gets people involved in a sport that is not from Australia. Through soccer, I have been exposed to a variety of different views and traditions, but also spread my own perspectives and views, further integrating international culture and thus causing cultural hybridization. Media is also an excellent representation of how I am a product and an agent of cultural globalization, as it is a platform that allows anyone the ability to share their opinions, perspectives, and views around the world. This results in societies being heavily exposed to aspects of another society's culture, and for myself, has resulted in me being particularly exposed to American culture. I regularly watch American TV shows picking up on mannerisms and sayings that influence the way I behave and act. This plays into the cultural hybridization and Castells' network society. However, I also believe that Ty Slassy's concept, "Don't ask me where I am from, ask me where I am local," is also relevant. Within her TED Talk, Ty Slassy shows how asking where someone is local rather than where someone is from gives greater understanding to that person's experiences and in turn their cultural identity. Her talk focuses on the complexities of people with connections to many different nations, expressing their heritage and who they are. However, I believe that this focus on locality when learning about people's cultural heritage is applicable for all people, even those who have only lived in one area. Connectivity of people through the network society and the increased presence of global media diversifies the cultural identity of a wider society, So, for another person to truly understand your background and experiences, you must focus your response to the question, "Where are you from?" to a specific locality. Whilst I was overseas, many people would ask me where I was from. If I said Australia, often the next thing the person would say would relate to some type of stereotype about Australian culture. If I said I am from Sydney, often people wouldn't really know how to respond, because Sydney is so multicultural that it gives little to no information about my background, because I could have grown up in a variety of environments, from Bondi to Chinatown to Penrith. However, when I said I am from Springwood in the Blue Mountains, people were aware of this area and gained insight into how I grew up in a town surrounded by the bush in a small, tight knit community. These images would be very different to the images they would have had of me after hearing I was from Sydney or Australia, and allowed me to avoid stereotypes and give them a greater insight into myself. Through this more focused explanation of where I am from, I reduce the effect of media hybridizing different societies together to expose people to new views, values, and ideas, and in turn become an agent for cultural globalization. In conclusion, my consumption, viewing, and participation in soccer and American media has made me a product of globalization. Furthermore, through soccer and focusing more locally where I am from, introduces others to new values, traditions, traits, and beliefs, making me also an agent for cultural globalization.